Rest in peace, Jungle Book Origins. Rest in peace. The Jungle Book. That's right, for those of you that don't know, Andy Serkis actually had his own Jungle Book movie planned called Jungle Book Origins. And that would have been really cool since he's the king of motion capture. I'm sure the animals would have been incredible. But I think it's safe to say with the success of this movie, that ain't gonna happen. And quite honestly, it shouldn't, because this was a really great adaptation. This is how I'd sum up this movie. It's wonderfully above average. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that it's a really well done movie, but it's not something that's gonna really stick with you. It's missing that intangible it factor that makes it something truly special. It's not a movie you're gonna rush out to see in the theater. It's not something you need to buy on Blu-ray the first day it comes out, but it's something you're gonna really enjoy while you're watching it, and definitely something you'll enjoy revisiting at some point in the future. I'll get to why I feel like it's missing that it factor towards the end of the video, but right now I want to talk about the positives because I was really impressed with this movie in a lot of different ways. First and foremost, the voice acting across the board was very well done. So Ben Kingsley was great as Bagheera, as he always is. Bill Murray was really fun as Baloo. Christopher Walken made a great King Louie. And Giancarlo Esposito and Lupita Nyong'o did a really good job as Mowgli's wolf parents as well. But as good as they all did, there was someone else in this movie who completely stole the show, and that was Idris Elba as the ruthless tiger Shere Khan. He was one of those villains that completely carries the movie. Every scene he's in, you're completely invested, and whenever he's off screen, you're just waiting for him to come back. He has that presence, and that's a huge credit to the CGI team and Idris Elba for bringing this CGI tiger to life. The original Shere Khan sort of had the James Bond villain-esque thing going on. He was sort of the suave, evil, slow-talking kind of tiger. But Idris Elba's take was way different. He was a ruthless tiger. And it worked really well. This movie actually had a lot of darker moments to it, which really surprised me. It's not really for young kids. There are moments that are quite scary, and Shere Khan is the biggest reason. The thing I was most impressed with this movie was the way they expanded the narrative into something more cohesive. I like the original Jungle Book, I just don't love it the way a lot of people do, and that's mainly because of the story. While it's really fun to sing along to the Bareeee Necessitiessss, it gets stuck in my head every time, there's something missing in the story. It's kind of just a bunch of random scenes thrown together. This movie did a really good job of adding a bunch of scenes to create more fleshed out characters and a better story, particularly with the wolves. In the original, the wolves are just kind of thrown in there in the beginning and then never seen again. In this movie, they have a much bigger role, and their relationship with Mowgli is a lot more compelling to watch. The Jungle Book is a prime example that you don't need to rely on nostalgia to update an existing beloved property. There were certainly a lot of nods to the original movie in this movie, don't get me wrong, but they were never afraid to stray away from that original movie. They added scenes, they took things out, they changed things, they did what they had to do to tell the best story that they could tell. Now, there's been a ton of love being thrown at Neil Sethi for his portrayal as Mowgli in this film, and I thought he did a really good job. I just didn't think he was amazing the way a lot of people did. He had a really hard task. He had to act in front of a green screen, and as a child, imagine all these animals surrounding him, all these environments. So I give him and the director Jon Favreau a ton of credit. I just didn't think he was the breakout star a lot of people seem to think he was. It was kind of like if you're watching a high school play and someone gives a good monologue, and you stand up and clap. You know, well done, that was good. But you're not going to go home and rave to your family and friends and say, this person was the next big thing. They just did a really good job. Now, I said earlier that this movie is missing the it factor. And I think that's honestly because of the CGI. This entire movie is CGI. And while the CGI is amazing, it's not the same as the real thing. It's like the Turing test. No matter how good AI is at this point in time, it's still not good enough to truly become a human and trick the human eye. We can tell that something is a little off, and that's what it's like with this movie. It looks really good, but it's just a little too clean, a little too bright, and just missing that realism. And when you combine that with the fact that there's only one human in this movie, it just leaves something left to be desired. It leaves the movie in that awkward middle ground where it's not an animated movie, but it's not necessarily a real on-location movie either. It's just in that awkward middle ground. There's not other people in the movie that we can be really drawn to their performances. And because it's not entirely animation, you don't get too invested in the animals either, because it just sort of is this weird dynamic that doesn't always work. But having said all that, none of those things are detractors from the movie. It's still a really great movie. I just think those few elements sort of take it away from being a truly great movie. Those stop you from thinking about it long after the movie, from thinking about it weeks later, from wanting to rewatch it immediately. Instead, it's just a really fun movie that you're going to enjoy, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I was really impressed with this movie, and quite honestly, it was probably the best that a Jungle Book adaptation could have been. The Jungle Book definitely receives mission accomplished. So have you guys seen The Jungle Book? What did you think? Are you a big fan of the original? What's the next movie that you want to see Disney tackle? For me, it would probably be Mulan. In a world clamoring for strong female leads, she's one of them, and I think if you hit the right tone, it could be a really fun, great, action-packed movie. Whatever you think, comment below and let me know, and if you like this video, click like. Thanks for watching, and until next time, see you later.